Hi everyone and welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video I am going to show you how I've drawn this beak on this bird. Just kind of guide you through step by step the tips, the tricks, the techniques that I'm using to draw a bird's beak. I hope this is helpful. If there's anything, tips, tricks, anything in the future that you'd like me to cover, let me know in the comments below, and I hope you enjoy this video. So when it comes to working on a bird's beak, there's so many different kind of blending that I need to do to create the depth that I'm after, but also to create that surface that is on the beak. So I thought that I would do this bottom half of the beak with you. There's quite a lot of different tones going on and values. And I would just show you a quick example of how I would tackle a beak of a bird. So let's get into it. As always, I like to bring in a base layer. So I'm actually going to take my Coal Grey 2. This is probably going to be a little bit light. Because I do know that I need to go darker. But I'd rather start off with a lighter base than be going in with my dark tones straight away and then not being able to lighten it up enough. So one thing I will always say is, when in doubt, or if you're not sure what base layer to go for, take a lighter colour than what you think you will need. I'm just making sure I've got a nice sharp edge along this bottom edge of the beak. And I've done circular motions here so that I get a nice even layer. And then I'm just going to take that Coal Grey 1 because this bit here is going to be a little bit lighter. So I'm just going to blend over the top with that Coal Grey 1. And into the Coal Grey 2 as well, just so we get a nice smooth blend there. I'm then going to come in with the earth green. So we're kind of going from this blue tone of a beak into these yellow tones that we have on this beak area. So I'm drawing, this is an Ornate Hawk Eagle, so it's a bird of prey. But I need to have this transition colour of the green so that, one, I'm controlling kind of the shade and the values of the greens rather than mixing my blues and yellows. But also, as I say, it gives me that nice transitional colour for the blues into the yellows, like we've done with this part of the face. So I'm just using my earth green. This is probably one of my favourite greens in the Polychromos. I find it so easy to use. It's quite a subtle tone, quite pastel-y maybe. But it is one of those colours that I just love to use. It's very subtle, which I really like. I'm just going to blend. Okay. And then I am going to take, I think this is the one that I'm after. This is the Payne's Grey 30% from the Caran d'Ache Luminance. Now, I love the, I need to sharpen this, so I'm going to do that in a minute. But I love the percentages in the Luminance. So some of them are 30%, some are 5, some are 10, some are 50. But any of the percentages I really love to use. I'm just going to sharpen this pencil. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're just going to bring in this nice lighter blue tone. So I'm working my way from my lightest values to my darks and just adding in any of these colours that I can see within this bottom part of the beak. Now this section here is going to go quite dark, but I still like to build up my colours in this dark area because I find that it adds more value to my black. Now you can go straight in with a black pencil. There's nothing wrong with doing that if you feel that that is just something that you want to do, I guess. I find with my work personally, and again it is a very personal choice, but I find with my work personally, if I don't have any colours kind of underneath the black to shine through, that my black looks very flat. So if I come in and add all these different colours, then I'm able to add more depth and values and a bit more life into those black tones. And again, I'm just going to lightly bring that up to that earth green as well. So everything is being done super lightly and with lots of circular strokes with my pencils, because I want this to look nice and smooth as we are getting it to at this point. I'm then going to come in with a darker green. So this is the Chromium Green Opaque. This is another green that I've been using in the yellow tones for the greens. So again, I'm just going to very lightly, I'm using the flattest part of the pencil here just so I get that nice even strokes or even lay down of colour. This is a bit of a darker green obviously than the earth green, so it's going to be a bit more prominent. So I am using a bit of a lighter pressure because again, I don't want it to be too in your face. But it's just going to blend over the top of this nicely. And you should be able to start to see that it's all starting to come together really nicely. Okay, I then think the colour that I'm after is a bit of a darker toned green. So let me just have a look what I've got. This is the Chrome Oxide green. This might work. It's a bit of a deeper toned green, especially for when I come in with those bluer tones of like the dark indigo and the Payne's grey. Yeah, I like this green. Chrome Oxide green. So as you can see, I do kind of use a lot of different shades of my greens. For me, again, personal choice, I find that it's not about one shade of green. It's about a few different blending and combining together to create the tones that I'm after. So I never look for just one colour. I'm looking for different tones, different shades of greens, so that I can mix and blend my pencils on the page to create the shades that I am after. And that is really a lot about what my work is about, is a lot of blending and of the different colours. So what I'm going to do now is we're going to start to bring in the blue tones that I can see towards the edge of this beak. So I'm going to bring the dark indigo. And we're just going to start to flick this in. Now again, this area I'm going to end up going quite dark in, but I want to just really bring those blue tones in that I'm seeing. Again, this is, for me, it's all about just drawing in all the different colours that I can see. I'm doing nice light pressure so that I'm able to keep building those layers, and I'm blending into and over some of that green so that it all gets that nice smooth transition. Okay, I'm then taking the this is the Payne's grey now, so this I've got nice and sharp so I can create that sharp bottom edge. Now I'm coming in and I'm using quite firm pressure here because I know that the bottom part of this part of his beak or her beak is nice and dark. Okay, and then also as we bring it up along here, I'm just going to start to curve my strokes so that I'm curving around the bottom of the beak itself. Okay, so you can see I'm trying to just create that curvature, but you can see already we're going quite dark here now. I'm just going to come in with the black. Now I'm using this because I want to map out this darker kind of line like we've got going on here, but I want to do it along this bottom edge as well. So we're going to come in and I'm going to come underneath, so following this kind of shape that we've already got drawn out. Now I'm not blending this out just yet, I'm just bringing it around the following this curvature and the shape that's going on really nicely along the bottom edge here. Now this bottom part of the beak is really dark, so I'm just going to take I'm starting with the polychromos black, but the one thing I find with the polychromos black is it is quite transparent. It doesn't give, I'll start again. By what I mean by that is it's not the blackest black. It's not opaque like some of the luminance blacks, or the Derwent drawing black is probably one of my favorite dark blacks. But I like to use it first just to give an idea of whether I need to go in with a more opaque black, one of the waxier blacks, or not. I'm going to come back up into this curvature here, so you can see all I'm doing is just kind of back and forth mapping in all the different shapes and the values. It's really important that I'm getting these darks really dark, but not only that I'm then blending out with everything. So I'm just going to slowly come in here and just start to blend here and blending it out at the bottom of the beak there. I'm going back to my Payne's grey because again I want this to all blend super nicely, and just doing those nice curved lines to blend, and going over that black area as well. Okay. Now I have just gone and got my luminance black because this is a really nice dark black, and again just in these, can you see the difference? Let me zoom you in a second. Again, I'm not pressing firmly, but you can just about see the difference. Let me zoom you in and you can see the difference between the polychromos black and that luminance black. So in this corner here I've used the luminance black compared to this bottom area where it's the polychromos black. You can see that difference in how dark it goes. So for your really darkest darks, those blacks that really want to be black, this is kind of the why I say use the luminance, sorry. I've also used the luminance in this darkest bit underneath the eye and within the eye. Obviously I've layered it up with other colours like I'm doing on the beak, but that luminance black really does help. So just going back to that luminance, and we're just going to bring it into this corner here because this bit here is nice and dark. As I'm blending, sorry I've got pencils going everywhere, as I'm blending into this bit I'm going to make sure that I'm going to lighten that pressure and almost flick so that it's blending seamlessly, and then just come in here, nice firm pressure, and blend that in, keeping hold of this black. And I'm just gonna again light pressure and just blending out. Okay, liking how this beak is coming together now. I've then just picked up my Coal Grey 5 because I still got that blue tone, but I want to just come in and knock back those green tones a little bit. I could have also used like the deep cobalt green, I think it is. She's like a bluish green tone, but I like to mix my colours, and you can see just how smooth I'm able to get the paper. So I know a lot of people with the Fabriano struggle with the tooth, but it really is about taking your time, not rushing, as you build up all the different colours. Build up your layers nice and lightly, and the more layers you get, obviously you can see just how smooth I've got all of this looking, and I've not had to press hard at all. This is I'm coming in now with the Coal Grey 2. Now what I'm doing, I'm not really expecting this to be like a bright Coal Grey 2, but it just adds, because of the amount of layers I've got, it just adds a bit of a highlight and lightens some of those areas up. It also just helps blend. And then I could come in with, like, this is a Pablo, this is Pablo light grey. And this again is just going to come in, if you've got it nice and sharp and a lot of layers on your page, I can just come in, and can you see how it's very lightly, oops, let me just get rid of that, very lightly adding this sort of lighter tone over the top there. So I can come in here in this dark bit as well to add in those colours. Just going back to that black again, I want this to be nice and sharp, and I will just go over basically until I'm 100% happy with this, which I am pretty much there now for the bottom part of this. I think, I don't know if they call it a beak in eagles, but the bottom part of this beak. So I'm basically just going to repeat those steps as I do the top part of the beak. Now the top part of the beak has a little bit more detail in, but it's again just about slowing down and taking it section by section. So I'm going to start in this sort of corner area here where I don't know if it's like a scratch or chippings away, but I'm going to again take a base layer because I always have a base layer on the page. This is the Cold Grey 2. And as always, it's all about just looking at the colours that I can see and building them up. So this is again the earth green. So it is quite repetitive once you get into it. You know, you're building up from, or the way that I work is build up from my lightest to my darkest colours in the sections, and go from there. I'm kind of curving my pencil because I want this beak to look 3D. One thing as well that I'm going to do is there's sort of like feathers stuck on the edge of the beak here. I'm actually going to not be drawing them in on my piece because I don't want them. And that's the great thing about doing pieces like this. You can pick and choose you know, what you want to incorporate. I just need to find my warm grey 3. So I'm going to go over with the warm grey 3. Okay, right, I need my green tones. Let me have a look which ones. I think I want actually that chrome oxide green. I really liked how that looked on the bottom part of the beak. And again, it's just following the shape. So we've got this kind of curvature going on here, and then it's going to blend up from the bottom part here. And that's going to blend into the beak there. If I take the chromium green opaque, so you can see again I've used those different tones of the greens. I'm not just sticking to one green. As I say, there's no right or wrong with how you apply your colours. You can use one green, you can use 3 like I've done, you could use 10, you know, use as many colours as you feel your piece needs to get this laid down. And then again, I'm just going to press a little bit firm with the earth green. So I've got a very green looking toned area here now. before I bring in any more of those blue tones, I actually want to bring in my violet. Now I'm using the violet because I can definitely see this kind of purpley tone. I could have used like the sepia 50%, but I feel like this is just going to really bring in that colour that I can see. It's really, as I say, it's a really nice kind of purple. And as always, I'm not adding it over the whole area. It's going to look like I'm adding a lot, but I'm just adding it in areas where I can see it, where I've got this kind of like purple tone. And then I can start to bring in those blue tones again by using my cold greys is how I'm going to do it. So this is a cold grey 5. And again, I'm blending over everything nice and lightly. And just kind of curving my lines ever so slightly so that we're getting that 3D effect of the beak. The beak isn't flat, it's got a roundedness to it. So I'm wanting to capture that look. Just bringing in the dark indigo so I can have a bit more of a blue tone. That's better. And you can see already it's starting to darken up this side of the beak really nicely. Again, I'm using really light pressure, but because I've built up my layers, we're getting that nice smooth effect to this area of the beak. Just going back to my cold grey 5. Again, I swap and change my colours quite a bit. Personal choice again. There is no right or wrong, you know. As an artist, you've just got to use whatever methods suit you. This is just what I've found works for me, and if there's something that you can pick up from what I do, then great. If not, also great, you know. Just darkening this separation here again. So it is a bit of a back and forth sometimes as you're building up your values. This is my Payne's grey because this bit here is the darkest area. And then again, to blend everything, just taking the cold grey 2. So I find the cold grey 1, 2, warm grey 1, 2 work perfectly for blending. And this is the light grey from the Pablos. Again, just using this. I could even use the silver grey from the Luminance, but just using this to come in here. And just keep going back and forth basically until you are happy with what you've kind of built up. I'm also really happy with that blend between the yellows and the blues. And then sometimes I just need to come in with a slice tool, which I'm able to do again because I've got a lot of layers on the page. If it doesn't lift the colour like so easily like this, then you will want to add more layers. Again, it's just gonna add some life into our beak. I'll go over some of that with the light grey from the Pablo. Okay, now the rest of the beak is going to be quite dark, so I'm not going to worry about lifting the graphite, But I'm just going to take the Coal Grey 2 as my base layer. Now I am going to cover this rest of this beak with the Coal Grey 2. It's a large area to cover, but I'm also not going to worry about it all at once. We're going to, again, take it section by section. Now I know some artists like to work on the piece all at once. As you can see, I do work section by section. It's just what I find easiest. Okay. And as I've done previously, I'm just going to come in with any of the colours I can see. So I'm starting with the earth green, and I'm just going to start to layer these all up across the beak. Maybe the dark greens. And I feel like we've got a bit of a browny tone. Oops. Oh, the pencils are rolling everywhere now. Maybe the Van Dyke brown, because this will bring a bit more of a neutral kind of brown tone. Now again, you can kind of see that I like to build up all the colours sort of underneath the darker kind of grey tones or the blacks. Now again, you don't necessarily have to do it this way. You could go in with those greys and then layer over the top. I like to do it this way because I feel that this is how I get more of those colours shining through. It's again personal choice. Everything is down to personal choice. Just got to do what works best. And again, it's all down to how you want your work to look. This is how I want my work to look. For somebody else, this might be a scary step to take. It might not be how they want their work to look. They might just want a hint of the colours showing, so they'll do it, layer it over the top, or they might not add any of these colours at all. And again, it's perfectly fine. We all want our work to look a certain way. And that's something that I really want to kind of encourage and make sure it's said, is how there's no right or wrong. So this is the dark indigo is what I'm using now. And you can see just how light my pressure is. Can you see like how grainy this looks, this area here, compared to the areas which are finished? And that will obviously change as we start to bring in more layers and build up the structure a bit more of the beak itself. One thing I'm going to do is just come in nice and lightly with the Coal Grey 2, because this is going to blend. And you'll see how it just kind of softens everything out really nicely. So it's one of the reasons I like using the Coal Grey 2. And I've kind of almost built up like another base layer to work on top of, as we build everything up to kind of the finish point, I guess. Now I'm just going to go in with the illuminance again. This is the sepia 10%. This is one of my favourite luminance colours. It's like a purpley grey tone. It is a lovely colour to work with. And that's just bringing in across the top of that beak. And then back in with that earth green. So green's quite a prevalent colour, I've noticed at the moment. It's obviously being reflected from the background. And then I'm also going to bring in some of my brown tones. So this is Nugget. And what you can start to see is the shapes are starting to build up, and that's creating the overall form and the look of this beak. Let's take this is the warm grey 5. Again, I'm either doing circular motions or nice even pressure, but keeping that curvature of the beak. This is the dark indigo. So as you can see, I'm just constantly building all of this up. Basically, again, till I'm 100% happy with how it's looking. And this can take as long or as short of a length of time as you want. I do take my time. I feel I'm quite slow, but I'm really kind of precise with where I want everything to be. Okay, let's take, this is the French grey again, I think. So again, just kind of swapping between different tones of the darker kind of grey tones where I need them. But what's happening, you can see that those, like the purples and the greens, the browns, are starting to kind of shine through really nicely. Which is obviously the, actually I need more green here. But that's the effect that obviously I'm after, which is why I come in with my colours first. This green. Because they shine, like in this bottom part of the beak, they just shine through so nicely and give me the effect that I am after. Okay, Payne's great. So now it's really going to start to pop because I'm coming through with these darker values. So I've got my mid-tones in. Let's get these darker values in, and then I can sort of balance that out by then coming through again with some of those highlights, whether it's with the slice tool or if I'm able to layer over the top. then I will just layer over the top. So you just want to do this, as I say, when you're drawing a bird's beak, just follow it slowly. Don't feel too overwhelmed. You also don't need it to look 100% like the reference photo. The reference photo is literally that, it's a reference. You want it to be similar. So I want the shapes to be correct, I want the values to be correct, but my details don't need to be exactly the same. You know, with the birds of a beak, they're going to get banged about, they're going to get scratched and knocked, and all sorts can happen. So, you know, this is why I don't worry about it being 100% the same, because we don't need it to be. I'm also planning, as I'm working on this bird, I am planning on filming more parts of it, so doing some of the feathers. But if there's anything that you would like to see in future videos, as I'm drawing or working on pieces, you know, whether it's a dog's mouth, a cat's eye, you know, whatever it is, or if there's anything in particular you need help with, I've got a video that will be coming out about picking your colours, so colour picking. How can you pick your colours if you're not quite sure what to do. So I've got lots of videos on the way, but if there's anything that you would like to see specifically, do let me know in the comments below, because I will be more than happy to try and get a video filmed. I also want to do a video on pressure, the amount of pressure with my pencils that I use, how you can use lighter pressure. But yeah, if there's anything in particular you want to see, do let me know. You should be able to see now how that is really starting to come together nicely. And all I'm doing is just slowly building this up. Where that white bit of feather is on the beak, I'm just kind of following the shapes around it to build up the areas that is kind of covering up. I feel like maybe a bit more of a blue tone is needed there. We've got a bit of a lighter bit of blue here, but it's not like a bright blue, so I'm just going to take, this is the Payne's Grey 30% again, to bring in that highlight. A bit along the edge here as well. And then I like this Pablo light grey for some of the lighter tones. Okay, let me just take my slice tool. And again, this is just to add in some of those extra details. Now this won't work if you've not got enough layers, as I keep saying. You can use it with just polychromos. For those that have done any of my Patreon tutorials, you'll know that I only use the polychromos. You just need to build up a lot of layers. This is easier to use on this piece because I have used the luminance. Now, if you've got any luminance, using them as base layers definitely helps to create this, the ease of using the slice tool. But don't worry if you've only got like polychromos or whatever brand you've got. Experiment on a scrap piece of paper and build up different amounts of layers. You know, start off with 5 layers, do another swatch and do 10 layers, do another one and do 20 layers, and just see, you know, how many layers before it feels really easy to just slice away those top layers so that you've got the ease of using the slice tool. This is just the white to just really kind of make those pop. And then I might just glaze over, so holding the pencil higher up, nice light pressure with a cold grey 2, so it stays nice and light but has that nice blue tone to it. And there is my Ornate Hawk Eagle's beak. So you can see it comes together really quite simply, quite quickly, just about building up those layers nice and slowly, with as many or as little colours as you want. So yeah, I hope this has been helpful. I know it's not really been a tutorial of sorts, it's me drawing and kind of explaining the colours I'm using, but I hope it's helpful if you ever decide to draw a bird yourself. And as I say, if there's any areas of this bird that you want to see me draw, I will be doing some of the feathers. I will do its crest. They have a little crest, so I'll definitely film doing that. But I will film other parts of the feathers. But if there's anything in particular you want to see, let me know down in the comments below. Don't forget to like the video, it really helps the channel out. Subscribe if you want to see more tips, tricks and tutorials on how to draw realistic animals in coloured pencils. And I will see you all in the next video. Bye everybody.